Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Future Report channel, where we analyze what the world is whispering and sometimes shouting. Today, we will come to a picture that is both humorous and thoughtful. The scene of the two giants, Russia and China, not only shaking hands, but also walking together in an event that has long been considered a typical national symbol of Russia, the Victory Day Parade on May 9 at Red Square. But this time, not only the Russian army appeared majestically in the formation, but also the honor guard from China. And even more special, President Xi Jinping sat right next to President Vladimir Putin, laughing and talking intimately as if the two had just signed a cooperation contract to open a Sichuan hot pot restaurant in Siberia. The situation caused many experts and netizens to raise a series of questions. Is this a sign of a ripe, unlimited friendship? America, a character who often sits in the VIP seat in stories' global power, is this time feeling a bit redundant? And will this rapprochement between the two superpowers create a new confrontation, changing the entire world political chessboard? In today's video, we will carefully analyze the context, decode the strategic meaning behind the intimate parade, clarify the relationships, geopolitical nooks and crannies, and don't forget to add a little salt and pepper so that the news story is no longer as dry as the Gobi Desert. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss any hot developments from the global political scene. And now, let's go to the first part, when Russia and China play the role of best friends. On May 9, 2025, at Red Square, Moscow, Russia solemnly held a military parade to celebrate the 8th anniversary of the victory over fascism. And as usual, the array of weapons, tanks, ballistic missiles, and the uniform footsteps of Russian soldiers continued to make netizens exclaim, "Wow, this is like the game Call of Duty that I just played yesterday." However, the biggest surprise, and also the point that made political analysts raise their eyebrows, was the appearance of the Chinese army in the honor guard, and especially, President Xi Jinping appeared at the honor stand, sitting right next to Mr. Putin, smiling like we are an international family. This is the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic, and after many geopolitical storms, a Chinese leader has made an official visit to Russia on a major holiday, and not only going for the sake of it, but also going with a message. And what is that message? 1. First, China wants to show that it is not only standing by Russia diplomatically, but also capable of going further, at least in terms of military symbolism. 2. Second, the fact that Chinese soldiers paraded alongside Russia is not on the wrong stage, but is a testament to the steadily warming relationship, literally, between two countries that the West is looking at with suspicion and skepticism. 3. Third, this event is like a gentle but meaningful statement. We, Russia and China, may not be exactly the same, but we understand each other and are ready to support if the world turns. Another interesting thing is that not only China is present, but also a number of other pro-Russian countries, such as Belarus, Kazakhstan, and even Vietnam. It is no different from a class reunion of old Soviet friends, lacking only black bread and vodka to complete the combo. So what seemed like a simple military parade turned out to have dozens of layers of meaning. It was like a birthday cake, covered in diplomatic icing, sprinkled with military sprinkles, and topped with a political cherry. And of course, the US, even though it was not invited, still had to watch with wary eyes, as if it were an ex-girlfriend showing off her wedding photos on Facebook. In the next part, we will peel back this layer of the cake to see how much strategic cooperation Russia and China really have, and whether this is just social friendship or a global political version of twinning. Russia and China shake hands, take photos together, declare unlimited friendship. It sounds like they are the Asian-European version of Batman and Robin. But wait, let the camera turn behind them a bit. You might see both of them shaking hands and holding sharp knives in their pockets. One side needs a market. The other side needs an ally. Russia, after being sanctioned by the West like a child expelled from NATO class, is in dire need of an economic shoulder to lean on. And no one has broader shoulders, GDP muscles, and the ability to import cheap oil than China. China is now like a new lover, who is always ready to buy agricultural products, buy gas, buy votes in the United Nations, of course, votes in support of each other. China is in a hard, tired phase, due to tensions with the US and the EC, Taiwan, chip technology, and many other fronts. Getting closer to Nia is like texting your ex after being dumped by your new boyfriend. I'm fine. I just need someone who understands me. The slogan unlimited friendship has been emphasized many times by Russia and China in recent meetings, but this phrase has never been clearly defined. Unlimited where? Economically? Militarily? Or unlimited in? Taking a photo together and then going home. The US and the West, of course, clearly understand that this relationship is not strong enough to form a NATO-style axis, but it is enough to cause trouble. Enough to make Washington's calculations need a few more Panadol extra pills every day. On the other side of the world, when the image of Putin and Xi Jinping shaking hands and greeting each other spread on television, in the Oval Office in Washington, people rumored that the US president just gently took a sip of coffee and said, "Interesting." But don't let that calmness fool you. When the US says interesting, it means that the CIA, the Pentagon, the State Department, the Treasury Department, and even the White House guard dog have been put into full response mode. How did the US react? First, the US State Department voiced deep concern, a phrase that has been used so often that it could almost be printed on invitations. Concerned that China and Russia are seeking to challenge the rules-based world order, and especially the rules written by the US. Then came a series of articles from think tanks, research institutes, and experts. Russia-China, a new axis to challenge the West? The US needs to reposition its Indo-Pacific strategy? Friendship is limitless, but resources and intentions are limited? Meanwhile, the US Congress did not stand still. Some hawkish senators immediately called for increase the defense budget, add aircraft carriers, and maybe send a few more agents to TikTok to monitor Chinese political trends. That is, America is not staggering, but it cannot take lightly a comradely show like this that is being live-streamed globally. Will the US strike back? Of course. The US has many tricks up its sleeve, strengthening alliances with Japan, South Korea, India, Australia, to create a soft siege, embargoing technology, especially items like semiconductor chips, knowing that both Russia and China are hungry for this front, pushing NATO to increase its presence in Eastern Europe, while also pulling the EU to tighten trade relations with China. And behind the scenes, US diplomats are also sending signals to hesitant countries like Brazil, Indonesia, Turkey, like, hey, those two guys are playing close friends. Are you sure you want to side with them? Or do you want to continue receiving huge development aid? What about the American people? The American people are still busy inviting each other to unfriend each other online because of internal divisions. But when news of the China-Russia partnership broke, someone humorously posted on Twitter, if those two countries were really close, I would at least hope they would open a joint restaurant chain. Sichuan borscht, nuclear-grade spicy radish soup. And that's the picture of the reaction from the US and the West. Quiet, but strategic. But the game is not over yet because we have to see what comes after the parade. A diplomatic move, or a move to reshape the global landscape? In the next part, we will predict the future. Will China-Russia really become a global counterweight alliance? And how will the US deal with this increasingly heated chessboard? After the implicit handshake between Russia and China, the world is wondering, is this just a political play, or the first chapter of an alliance against the US-led order? Scenario 1. True allies? The birth of the Eurasian Axis? In this scenario, China and Russia really elevate their relationship to a bloc that counterbalances the West. They coordinate. China provides technology. Russia provides energy. China increases economic influence. Russia puts military pressure. Both make a strong statement like, we don't like America, but we really like fighting America. It sounds badass, but the problem is, mutual trust is still a fatal weakness. Russia fears China's expansion. China is always wary of Russia, playing tricks. And the world looks at it and says, what kind of ally is it that everyone looks like they're hiding an Uno card? Scenario 2. Joining hands. Because of pressure. A more realistic scenario is, Russia and China join hands, not because they like each other, but because the US forced them to the point where they had no other choice. This is an alliance brought together by circumstances, like two classmates who hate each other, but have to work together on a group assignment because the teacher the US paired them up In this situation, the alliance can be short-term, temporary, and often taunting each other behind the scenes. Scenario 3. Disillusionment with comradeship. The world is changing very quickly. It is very possible that in the next few years, Russia will be dissatisfied because China is using it as a cheap gas station. China will see Russia as too dependent and unstable. And in the end, both sides will return to the state of playing when you want to play, not playing when you don't want to play when you don't want to play. Meanwhile, the US stands from afar, watching, eating popcorn and saying, "See? Told ya." In all scenarios, the US is still the main character keeping the balance. If China and Russia really join hands deeply, the US will strengthen the alliance and increase its military presence. If it is only a temporary alliance, the US will exploit internal weaknesses to cause cracks. And if the two friends disintegrate on their own, then congratulations, the US doesn't need to do anything to win diplomatic points. The most important thing is, the US cannot stand still. Every move by China and Russia forces Washington to calculate extremely carefully, so as not to fall into a passive position on a chessboard that is changing color every day. And that is the whole picture of the tense but fun relationship between Russia and China, along with the equally tense but calm reaction from the US. In the world of geopolitics, there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. And forever statements sound very serious but are not necessarily sincere. If you find this world increasingly resembling a political action movie with a touch of black comedy, then congratulations, you have awakened in the era of post-COVID globalization. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to update the serious but not boring current affairs analysis every day. And remember to comment, do you think the Russia-China relationship is sincere, temporary, or just acting?